I grew up in a country that was communist or socialist at the time, Bulgaria, and it was part of the Eastern Bloc. So we had no freedom of speech. We were, ideology was the main thing that you could talk about in public, and if it didn't fit their narrative and their ideology, you actually can disappear. So a lot of people disappeared. My neighbor was a famous author. He had been to the equivalent of a concentration camp, but it's like a work camp. But it was all because he spoke out, and which in a country with a freedom of speech would not be a problem. So it's very hard for me to see all of the things developing in the United States recently, actually over the last few years especially, that have so much in common with things that I've seen, that I grew up with, and I thought that I ran away from. United States is the only country in the world that has the type of freedom and democracy. It's basically the best in that sense. It's not perfect, but it has more freedom of speech than Europe even today, not to mention in the past. But I see many things happening that are so similar to what I'm in my childhood that I even get emotional when I see it, because it makes you feel powerless. And those things are the mob, the fact that you cannot express a different opinion, the fact that your neighbor can tell on the government if you didn't agree with or show the signs that they wanted to see, or if you even were silent, because they say silence is violence. So either this is some kind of a joke and I'm in an alternate universe, or this is really happening. I'm an American now. I'm Bulgarian originally. I refuse to call myself Bulgarian American. I think we should all call each other Americans. Instead of Asian American or whatever American.
I all of a sudden became an African. For correctness, African American. I'm not African. An American. I'm not African. An American. I'm not African.
I really see the signs, and there's so many of them, and that, I feel like a lot of people are confused. They don't know. They should read history. They should read history of my part of the world, of China and all these countries, Cuba, Venezuela, and see how it happened, what it led to, and it didn't lead to anything good, because that socialism or whatever that they're pushing is just not going to go anywhere. In the Eastern Bloc, what happened is that part of the population decided that they don't have anything, like, they're poor, and decided to adopt an ideology which they got together, a lot of them, and made it a revolution. And what did that revolution do? Took away from the people who had. So there were, families with more than one house, with property, etc. So they said, no, we're going to take everything away, and then we're going to divide it. So basically they took over, because what they changed is just who is in power. They removed human rights, basic human rights. They deprived people from, again, the freedom of speech, and so many other things. You couldn't grow professionally or anything. The government decided, how much you can have and how much you can grow. Okay, so one of the main things, I found is that recently is a lot of these organizations in America are actually Marxists. And back in the day, what they were fighting for in my lands, in my motherland, were against fascism, social justice, and equality. So the Marxists today are just substituted fascism with racism, which actually equals, they say racism equals fascism. So basically anytime you disagree with something, they call you a racist. You may have like a ton of people from all kinds of races you're living with, home, friends, etc. Doesn't matter. Just because you don't like the way they want to do things, because they're trained Marxists, and that's what they said actually publicly. It's not an opinion. They claim it. So only because you disagree with something, they label you immediately. And then what they will do eventually is what happened in my motherland, fake elections. So every year, or whatever, 4 years, there's election for president. No, there wasn't. It was all set up. They pursue supporters of your president. That is just wrong and very disrespectful, because I don't see any, democratic society that can survive and remain such when you cannot respect the other people's opinion and the right to also vote. And I'm sorry, but there's been way too many years past this, racism that they're talking about. And yes, there may be people, in certain things that need to be improved. But don't be playing these movies, Hollywood, about racism, trying to teach the children of today that they are actually victims. They're not victims. Several generations have passed. And if you have something to change, there are many ways to find solutions. But that guilt that they're building and labeling people just because of the color of our skin, I'm sorry, if someone calls me a racist, I come from Bulgaria, what the, I have nothing to do with any of that. So, but I'm sure someone will say that, just because I may say, I don't like your organization. Your organization is ran by trained Marxists who are professional organizers, like one of the leaders of the Black Lives Matter organization claims, polarizing the society, and they're creating so much division. So people, if they don't see color, they start seeing colors. You start seeing your friends, oh, wait a minute, what color are you? Ah, okay, so if you're this color, you must be that and that. No, it's who you are as a person.
But I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.